Hey guys, what's going on? This is Meshi with Path to Wellness with Meshi. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I know that the way I look right now is slightly different than what you will see in the next footage, but I forgot to shoot the intro. So I wanted to give, if you're brand new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Here on this channel, I post regularly about green beauty and holistic living and how to be more environmentally conscious, really, and just anything and everything that has to do with living a better, more vibrant life. So in today's video, as the title can tell, I wanted to give you my running update. So you will see a quick rundown on what worked, what didn't work, but then also I will actually take you on the run with me. I will show you some highlights. It's maybe about 8 or 10 minutes of the footage. I will say ahead of time so that nobody comments in the comment section about this, that unfortunately the camera that I used on the day of the run was on my chest and not on my head, so I didn't use the head strap, unfortunately, so it was moving quite a bit, but I did do the voiceover and we did slow it down, so it is manageable and it's relatively short footage, but it will definitely give you just a feel of what it was like to run a 10K. So if you wanted to take a look and just learn a little bit about what my takeaways were, then just stay tuned and let's get started with the video. So now, a lot has happened since the last update that I've been giving you guys when it comes to running. And one of the biggest things was that, like, over the summertime, while I thought that I would be really running quite a bit, I actually found that that was not the case. Motivation was definitely one of the major issues for me. I found motivation to be an issue, but then also my other kind of concern with this whole thing was that in the summertime, our summer months were extremely humid and really muggy. So by the time I would go for my morning run around 9:30, which I know for most of you that's pretty late, oh my goodness, it was so muggy that I found that it was just really uncomfortable and really hard to breathe. And I really didn't want to do any training on the treadmill. So I was sort of left in a tough and a hard spot, if you know what I mean. So the fall came, and in September, I found that things kind of slowed down and like the weather actually started to get a little bit cooler, which has made things so much easier. So we started training it took us about 5-6 weeks just to kind of get back into the rhythm of things. And I remember specifically, because I knew that I will either register for something for September or for October, but I definitely did not want to wait until November for my next race, only because I just felt like by the time it snows and I'm only at 10K at that point, then I felt like in a way I'm going to be running out of time to really be able to train in endurance for the longer distances. So this race came up locally and they had an option for both a 5K and a 10K, but the big thing was that it was timed. So the main reason why I even registered for it is because of the timing, because you receive a chip and then that chip sort of takes a look at, you know, how long your actual race is, and then you can use that as a qualifier for your next race. So while I was not very intrigued to even register because I just didn't feel quite ready, I remember like about a week prior to the race, the longest run that I've done was about 6.5K outdoors and about 8.5K indoors. So that was sort of where I was sitting at, and my pace was around 7 minutes 13 seconds, 7 minutes 5 seconds on my faster days. And so I was getting really anxious and really scared, like leading up to race day, but I knew that in a way that this is how I'm going to progress, and this is how I'm going to create just more of a positive change, that I will have to, you know, push myself outside of my comfort zone. I will say I definitely understand and I totally relate to all of you that are hesitant to just get started, hesitant to maintain that momentum, because you are in pain and it does push you outside of that comfort zone in many ways. And running is definitely a perfect, just perfect sport for that, where you find that it becomes really challenging and each run is quite different from the next. So right now I'm at a point where things are just getting sort of situated and they're starting to be a little bit more comfortable. My mindset has shifted a lot more since the race, where I'm just finding it a lot easier to just get out for runs, and I don't have that mental battle anymore, which was beautiful. But this was by far one of the hardest and one of the most challenging races that I have done to date. And I am so proud that we have finished, and I'm so proud that I have beat my time. And I will insert a clip right after this, just so that you can kind of take a look at the end and what my time was if you're interested. But ultimately, I think what's more important than what my time was or what my pace was just really the fact that it is absolutely doable. And if you give yourself a proper amount of time and a proper support system around you, it makes all the difference in the world. So here's what I learned. When it comes to food, you definitely want to make sure that you are eating carbs that are going to be a more burning on a slower rate. So I was sticking with oatmeal, and then I would add some cocoa butter and coconut oil with cacao powder, just so that it flavors my oatmeal, and it also gives me like an extra boost of both fat and some protein. So that was working out really well. And I also found hydration to be an absolute must, because hydration with electrolytes makes the world of a difference. During the race, after about 6 or 7K, I did find that my legs were cramping up, primarily my left leg, and I still finished. I still sped through the last kilometer, because I didn't want that to be the thing that sort of stops me, but I definitely felt cramping in both glutes and also right around my IT band. I thought it was IT band. I think that it's more of a muscle weakness. We'll find out, but it definitely made me realize and become more aware of just how much time you have to spend on proper warm-up, proper stretching afterwards, which I'm generally really good at. Race day, I was not good at it. So there you go. Stretch, make sure that you're stretching, and make sure that you're getting massages, you're getting in with your either osteopath or chiropractor. It makes a world of a difference. But also I did some self-massage post-race. I also took a nice Epsom salt bath, because by the end of the race, I could barely walk, unfortunately. And I don't want you to focus on that part of it, of this video, that I kind of strained my leg, because really the straining lasted a day. So just to put it into perspective, the race was 3 days ago and I was out for a run today. But it definitely made me more aware of what I have to do when it comes to strength training, and what I have to do with breath work and all of these things. They all kind of play into the bigger picture of things. So I will be including, I think, 1 or 2 days of yoga going forward from now until January. I will be including 1 day for weight trainings, and it's mainly going to be a whole body, but more focusing on legs and on glutes and on stabilization and on core strengthening. And I'm also going to increase my runs from about 2 days a week to 3 days a week, where there is 1 day that's just sort of an easy run, more of a warm up. So I think that can be combined with the weight training days. And then that way we have like a nice mash of pretty much everything that I need when it comes to support. But it made me realize that I think now part of my fear was that I just didn't feel ready. And also another part of my fear was that I didn't have enough people around me that have done longer distance races, so that they could give me some guidance. So I decided that I'm going to be joining the local running store around my area, so that we can, join them. They do have weekly runs when they do provide some support. So I'm quite excited to just try it out. Have more of a sense of community and have a sense of belonging when you're not just doing it by yourself. And that's one of my biggest takeaways from all of this, is that I have been feeling in the past couple months that I'm very much alone in this journey. And I know I'm not, but it still felt really lonely. So I'm definitely looking to connect with more longer distance runners, just so that I can, learn from them and get their guidance and their feedback, or just simply be around them for motivational purposes. I mean, you know, it makes a world of a difference when you change the people that you're around. And, you know, if you start your own fitness journey or your own wellness journey, and you will hit a wall right around the time when you look at your immediate environment and the people around you are not only not supportive, they may or may not be supportive of what you're doing, but they might not be on a similar journey. So it becomes hard for them to relate to like really what you're going through and then what type of support you actually need. So that was one of my biggest takeaways, is just really just be connected with more people that have run a marathon, that they have run a half a marathon. They understand what the training looks like, and they can really provide you with either mental, emotional, physical support, like whatever the case may be. Because sometimes it's just cool to just connect with other people that would have like a breakfast idea for like a longer run. So this was sort of my takeaway. Now, without further ado, I thought that I would just actually take you with me on at least part of the run. One thing that was surprising, and I think that I will do a voiceover just so that I can kind of walk you through like really what the mental game was and how I really felt prior to the race. The day of, I felt really calm. Leading up to the race for the full week, I felt really agitated, really out of place, didn't feel ready, and I was just really scared / excited / I wasn't really sure what to expect. I knew that it's going to be a challenge versus the 4K that I've done about 5 months ago. So it was just a lot of emotions sort of bundled up in one. And then the day of the race, I thought that I would get a lot more concerned and a lot more nervous, and I actually felt really calm, really focused, and I beat my time in many instances. So I'm quite happy. But without further ado, I thought that what better way to really bring you with me than to really just show you the footage from the race, so you can kind of take a look. Just walking up to the area where we're going to be lining up. Obviously there's quite a few people here. As it turns out that there was maybe about close to 800 people that have registered for this race, and out of that there's about 165 or 168 people that actually went ahead with running the 10K. So here we're just kind of running up to the lineup, and we're also meeting up with my friend Joanna. I generally don't see her very often, so whenever I can kind of coordinate a few races or a few runs with her, it's always fun and it's always exciting. So you'll see my husband and my friend, and we're just lining up, just waiting to get started. I'm just kind of looking through a few of the apps and what I'm going to be listening to. But as you can tell, it's a very beautiful day, beautiful fall day. And most of us are anxious. We're trying to warm up, and we're going to take a quick picture. And if you follow me on Instagram, you have probably seen this picture. And unfortunately here, my camera was set up on my chest rather than on my head. So the view is going to be a little bit interesting, but we will work with it. I made sure that we kind of slow down the footage and just show you the highlights. Now we're on to about 1.5 to 2 kilometer mark. I was trying to find you like the markers for the first and the second and the third kilometers. I wanted to just show you like this. We're just basically running on the side here and then leading up to more of a residential area. And the interesting part about this is not so much that I'm running, but the fact that on any given day, I would be okay with running about 1 kilometer until I needed a break. And then on this particular day, I was actually running for about 2 kilometers or so, or maybe a little bit more, until I actually needed my first break. So I was quite proud of that. So for a little while, we were just on our own because we also had a head start. But then here, you kind of missed it, but we took a turn, and then all of the people that were running 5K, which I mean, you can imagine there's like 600 people there, they all kind of merged in with us. And it just, you really have to just pay attention. Like, you will see a million people just kind of pass me and obviously run a lot faster. Meanwhile, I'm holding my gloves here on the side. They come in very handy, I must say. But I really just had to remind myself to just keep my own pace and go with my own speed rather than, you know, pay attention to who's running faster. And like, you can tell, like, a few people, especially like some of the organizers, like they were ridiculously fast. So honestly, I really just wanted to make a commitment to just run my own race, pay attention to my own pace, and really just go with what works for my body rather than, you know, try to compete with others, because this was really not about them. But I mean, like, look at that guy, he's just like flying. More of a residential area, and I'm kind of glad to see. I wanted to caption this just because, as you will see, we're going to be coming up to a bend here and a turn. So here we're going to start running downhill, which is amazing. But also, like, you see some of these older gentlemen running, and then you will see a mom running with strollers. And honestly, I wanted to capture this for you, and not just because, again, it's not just about the running. It's very much about, you know, like, it was more about the community. And like, if you look at, like, there's all ages, all sizes, and it was just so amazing to see everybody come out. So there's the stroller, and, you know, like, little kids running, like probably not even a teenager at this point. And it's just amazing to see that they are showing up just as much as everybody else, just to, you know, to just show support and to test their own limits. So now here we're going to slow down for a moment. So here we're coming up to the 3K marker, and honestly, every single time, I didn't think much of it at the time, but now, like, looking back on the footage, it was so helpful. It was so motivating to see, like, wow, I still got lots of fuel in me, and I only hit, like, you know, I hit 3K already. So that was really great. You will see I will speed through a lot of this because there's a really big intersection that's actually coming up, and some of the people went left, and then the rest of the people actually just continued to go straight. And those that went straight were running the 10K, and then those that turned were, so some people actually kind of got lost here, unfortunately. So that was more of just a design plan. But I mean, there is a guy right here in the middle who is supposed to be telling you exactly where to go, but he really wasn't. I think he was just really overwhelmed with how many people were actually going there. So here we finally enter into a nice long stretch of just straight road where we basically lost the 5K people, and it's just straight. You know what I mean? Like, it was just no drama. You're not really getting bombarded with a ton of people. There's not a lot of traffic, which kind of helped. It's a beautiful day. You finally get into a rhythm. And then here I started to notice that there were maybe about 3 or 4 people that kind of had, and you will see them kind of pass me by. They sort of had a similar pace than me. So that actually started to help me quite a bit, because I found that they would speed up or slow down. Like, this girl, like, she basically stayed with me all the way to the end of the race. Like, you will see her pop up a few times, especially around the 9K mark. Remember I told you that this girl would show up again? So we are now slowly approaching the 5K mark, which I had no idea that that's where we're at, but I kind of figured, well, we're between 3 to 5K at this point. And I'm trying to continuously just keep my pace, check the time, make sure that I'm actually taking a break at about the 15 or 10 to 15 minute mark, and then eventually, which seems like absolutely forever if you ask me, like, I mean, I knew that the street is long, but I didn't think it would be this long. Eventually we turn, and to my surprise, that's where the 5K marker comes up. Here's something absolutely magical that's coming up right around now. 32:35. I didn't even register what this guy was saying until the replay, but I realized that this was the 5K marker. So grab some water, and then off we went. And then later on, like, you will see that guy in front of me, or maybe around the corner you will see him, but Turns out that my husband was in front of me this entire time, and I splashed some water onto the camera, because, you know, in a race day, why not?
You got this! Way to go! Way to go! Way to go!
So here we are approaching the 7K marker. Things kind of changed from here, as you will see as we go around the corner in a moment. Oh yes, I remember this section so vividly because this is around the time when I was basically switching over from an audiobook to more music. I started blasting it because as I'm turning onto this street, like this is where I slowly started to feel like pain is starting to creep in. So I felt like I really needed to offset it with something more motivating. Totally different vibe here. I'm trying not to stop and go, but then I see this thing that's coming up, and I will slow down the footage so that you can actually see it, but it's just a marker for the 3K and the 8K. So I'm kind of looking at this thinking, oh my gosh, there's only like 2 kilometers left. Like we're almost there. This is getting good. You know, this street is relatively straight. There's not a lot of hills. Like we can totally do this. Like I'm pumping myself up. Meanwhile, music is like blasting in my head at this point. And I see a few people are walking, which is encouraging because I'm thinking I can just go past them. I can just get it past them. And, you know, from the outside, I'm looking like it's totally chill and it's totally fine. But meanwhile, I'm like losing it. I love this quick footage here, and just because, like, look at that, just pure support. Like, I think that we need to just take time and acknowledge this. Like, just what true support was really. So liberating moment coming up right here as I'm looking at the 4K markers, and then shortly after that there's the 9K markers. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you guys, I am almost there. Like, yep. We got this. Let's go. So after this little bit of a quick pep talk, I actually picked up the pace, even though my legs were just hurting like you would not believe. I'm running downhill. I'm basically almost at the finish line. Like it's less than a kilometer away really. So I'll just bring you in for the finish line now. Here we go, finish line coming up. This is getting exciting. I see that red banner thing. I also see my time, so I start speeding up. I'm just like, oh my God, I can basically taste this. I walk through, and then all of a sudden, it's just, I slow down, I take my medal, and it just becomes surreal. Oh my God. I'm done. Me too. Oh shit.
Our battery died. How's it going, guys?
Our battery died?
Yeah, it did. So it didn't catch me going through the finish line.
Oh no.
Or you going through the finish line, but
I don't know if it, whatever.
Nessie was like about an hour and 6 minutes, and I was about an hour, 7 minutes and 30 seconds.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Got cramped, eh?
Yeah.
Like the last 2 kilometers, like my bum started to hurt, and then like my knee, I'm like, yep, you need to stretch your IT band and your hands.
Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope that you enjoyed today's video and you got some takeaways from it. Let me know in the comment section below of where you're at with your own running journey, if you are learning to run, or where you are with your wellness journey. I always love when we can kind of get together as a community and learn from one another. That's ultimately why I started documenting the running journey as well, so that it sort of inspires you to just start your own, or really just share your wisdom of like some of us that are just basically beginners. But I wanted to let you know this is something brand new that I started not long ago. Now that I'm actually increasing the frequency of my videos, I will be sending out weekly roundup videos that summarizes some of the main takeaways from my videos from each week. And this is also a place where I will be sharing exclusive offers and exclusive insights with my email community. So if you wanted to be part of that, I will be leaving the link in the description. It's completely free. I wanted to do that for you as a courtesy so that if there's certain videos that you're looking forward to watching, or if you wanted to get just the main zest of like what each takeaway was from my videos, that would be the best place where you can get that. So I wanted to kind of simplify your life a little bit. If you wanted to sign up for that, it's completely free and it's available to you right now. Link in the description, so check it out. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again next week with a new video. Bye.